Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to IPFW's Mastodon Career Call webinars. We offer these webinars once or twice a month on a career development topic to IPFW students, alumni, and staff to really help students with their career development goals. And before we get started, I just want to make sure that everyone has clicked on the poll and has had the chance to pull up the animal leadership style file. And if you could pull that up and quickly do that assessment before the workshop starts, that would be great. I also want to point out two of our corporate sponsors and thank them for their sponsorship, Extension Healthcare and Lincoln Financial Group. Both are currently hiring, and if you look at the lower left-hand box on your screen, you'll be able to link to their career website and see what positions they're currently hiring for right now. If you are logged on to get passport points credits, you need to put your first and last name in the window so that you can get credit for your participation today. And this will be recorded. We're recording right now, and we will archive this on our YouTube channel. So you will have an opportunity to hear it again and get the materials that Rachel will be sharing. So it's my pleasure to introduce Rachel Landis, and she'll hate me for saying this, but today is her birthday. So everybody wish her a happy birthday and thank her for agreeing to do this webinar. She is a career counselor at IU Bloomington, and today she's going to be talking about leadership style. And so we'll go ahead and I'll turn it over to Rachel. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat box, and Rachel will address them as she goes throughout the presentation. So, all right. So I think I turned my volume on, so let me know if you can't hear me. Almost had a freak out moment. We lost all power down here in Bloomington, and my so we're very lucky to have our technology talk about leadership styles. A fun, simple animal leadership style assessment you can besides just that. So it looks like we have, according to, so I hope that this is really helpful. So with the Mastodon career calls, it's every topic is leadership. So I'm kicking off. So let's talk a little bit about the assessment. So it's kind of asking you what you prefer. Do you want to do it more of the fun way, the easy way, your way, the right way? So we'll talk about that with Waggoner's animal leadership styles. And class as a group. So I really want you to make sure you're taking notes. So I'm out to you to write it down so you can remember it for later. Now, I've done this presentation usually in person, and our icebreaker is to really get to the heart of who each of you are, and I have you play your ringtone, but we're not going to do that today. But instead, we're going to do an activity with leadership quotes. So I'm going to show you 6 different leadership quotes, and it'll really describe your leadership style. Decide which of the 6 you would choose. First one is, I suppose, but today it means getting along with people. Orchestra must turn his back on the actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more. About taking responsibility, not making excuses. Here is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Last one, a good leader takes a little more than his share of the blame, a little less than. So I want you to think about those 6 quotes, and I'm going to pull up a poll. Go ahead and share which All right, so it looks like voting number 3. So this activity is really just to kind of represent that everybody has their own opinion on what it means, that quote, and what it really meant to you. So I just really wanted to do that to show that there is no right leadership style, and everybody has their own way of leading. Ultimately won according to was, I'll go back to actions inspire others. So when you're a leader, everyone who's leading is interacting with people. So the main that you need to remember to identify and maintain healthy, effective. Let's talk about perception. But believing is seeing. So I'm kind of going to go off track here to talk about perception and then come back to leadership. So perception is what we want to see, right? So if you're staring at a light at the bottom of a pool, it might look broken or distorted. Light really looking like that? Is it broken and distorted, or is it how we're viewing? So I want to say that, to say not to make assumptions. So back to people and relationships. So if you really want to know who the people are that you're leading, out of your comfort zone and not to another activity. I'm going to show you a step for a few seconds, and I okay, so this next slide. So I want you to tell me what. Go ahead and type in the chat room what you're seeing in this slide first. Good. Quite getting to it yet. Does anyone see anything else besides? Staggered wording might have been my fault. Good. Chelsea, I think is how I pronounce your name, got that correct. There's 2 the repeated word. So Paris in the springtime, once in a lifetime, bird in the hand. Looked at this. that wasn't what you saw. Your brain kind of edited it for you. You didn't double wording. So our brain has kind of put things into categories so we can gather information quickly. So again, kind of that point of perception, what is it that we're seeing? When you're a leader, it's important to understand people you're guiding are not necessarily up here. The red person is the leader. This cycle of understanding. So if working with, unless you really understand who you are and how you are a part of that, hopefully that makes sense a little bit. So, for example, if we tell someone with long red hair, oh, I know someone that's really long. Therefore, I think I kind of would know you. You might be similar to that person. That would be an incorrect assumption, but it's our way, like that activity with the triangles, help to understand this person. How can we categorize them based on what we know in order to work with them to help that make sense to me? Another example would be if you can't find something, but someone walks right up to you, say you're looking for your glass. Had this happen to me. And someone walks up to you and says, well, your glasses are on your head. That's where they are. And you don't realize that. And so someone's helping you point something. So hopefully that makes sense. So I really wanted to kind of preface the assessment with how we might make assumptions as a leader and help to understand people and categorizing things, but to also understand that that's not always the best way to do it. So we So these routines are great as we lead because it helps us be very efficient in class and we're in a group project. Okay. Our brain helps fill in those gaps as we're on autopilot, as we're trying to understand information. These routines can become the same thing over and over because it's predictable. Have you heard the phrase insanity? So sometimes those things are great. However, they don't always make sense. So okay, so kind of in summary with what we've been talking about. Sometimes our perception is distorted, kind of like the light going through the water of a pool, and our expectations can be unrealistic. And so our expectations could be unrealistic if we don't. So the important thing I want you to get slow down and think as a leader first. How am I trying to understand this group? And hopefully all of that makes sense. So this is just a funny way of saying it to self and the insanity of your routine by increasing awareness of yourself first. That makes sense to everybody. What is familiar to you? So this is kind of the segue into styles. So hopefully everyone got a chance to fill out this assessment. It's really brief. It would be very quick if you haven't taken it. So go ahead and pull up that file and take it quickly. So I would like to see, based off everyone's, what's familiar to you. So what are your results when you took that? So I'll pull up another example, and I would like to know what you scored highest on, and also like to know what you scored highest score and your second highest score. Wow, the highest score looks like we have a lot of golden retrievers and lions, and beavers and otters are not represented today. Are golden retrievers and beavers. Go over them, but not in depth, so you do have that handout to read more about that. This next slide is kind of what you were looking at before when you took it, when you scored. So one thing to remember is nothing's exact. We tend to overdo our natural. Notice that about yourselves. It's not necessarily. So when you're a leader, that particularly happens more. How do we manage that in a healthy way? So I want you to go through those descriptions that's a longer description of words, and to add a tie, I want you to just pick. So when I'm with a group of people, I like to get them into groups. Otters, golden retrievers, and beavers to get. So I kind of interact and tell them, out of these animals, which ones do you not like to be with? Or do you have examples? So usually the lions in the group will really come to a quick decision. Tough to say, not all of you know everything, so you guys are going to have to come to a decision to quiet. And so the beavers, so they might have questions. They might hold their questions and create a list of questions for later. And the otters, I have to keep them on task. Started. What are you talking about? Is it related right now? So it can be really fun. So now that you've kind of read through the descriptions of each, is kind of talking about, oh wait, I did want to do that next one, sorry. Okay, so the otter. So the otter is saying, let's do it the fun way. And that, yes, otters really love to, when they're leading, all these types can be leaders, absolutely. How can we do it in a fun way? Comfortable when they aren't having fun. So that's something to keep in mind. If you are fun, are they getting, is some of these tendencies being amplified down to business, and it's not fun anymore? Golden Retriever is saying, let's do it the easy way. I want everybody to get along with each other. Most uncomfortable when they're in conflict. So that is the last thing that they want to deal with, because Beaver is saying, let's do it the right way. So it needs to be accurate, logical, it needs to make sense. Most uncomfortable when things aren't right. It my way. And this isn't in a negative connotation. It's just saying I would really think that's going to be the best. And so the lion leader, now a lot of times you will pick top two animal person. One, you might be thinking that you really or are your top two. This assessment has nothing to do with IQ. So it's not the end all be all of who you are. So take what you like about it. I want all of you guys to sit, go ahead and cross your arms. So how was that for you? And go ahead and type something in the chat box. Can't do it. Awkward. You had to think about it. So it was, I like that. It was awkward, uncomfortable, maybe reminded me. So these are, that was just an example to show that you have one way of doing something, what you prefer that feels more natural way. It doesn't mean that you absolutely can't do it, that it's impossible. So there is a way that you prefer to lead that is so back to perception. Clarity can be your enemy. So one way is not the best way. So, and that's not just all of them. We're all have our own familiar ways of doing things. And it's our own ways. It's really good to step out of your comfort zone. Kind of like going where the people are. So who about this in summary, the things that are kind of making you the most comfortable. The beaver when they're not right, or otter when they're not having fun and they're about the things that we talked about in the beginning of the so when you are they're just talking and laughing and we're not getting laughing while they're doing it, but they're still being productive.
Also really important is how you're. So instead of quickly running to assumptions and saying something all at that point, but just to respond that the significant problems we face cannot be solved about what was happening when there was a significant, what was your mindset? What were you solve it in that very same mindset, but to come at it from a different angle, a different perspective, solve that problem. And this is where all the different animal personalities come in. How can you put all your heads together because you all think very differently about a situation, solve a problem with different angles, and powerful. So again, just 4 quotes. If you can tell, I really like quotes. Our behavior is a function of our decision. So if somebody is doing something that's very ineffective, it's not who they are innately or naturally. How many of you have thought, that person really makes me mad? Have that power over us to make us something. Lots of people, group members, I'll keep relating this back to being a leader, especially as a leader, that's very important because people are also kind of looking to go through the process of making a model that really good behavior of strong and healthy leader. You not based on the situation. Have one answer for a certain situation. So what kind of leader do you want to be? So it's up to you and the choices you make are kind of all this great knowledge now about the different animal personalities and you can be a really effective leader as qualities of how you prefer to lead, how you can understand how others might prefer to lead as well. So summing it up, our perceptions are always distorted by our beliefs and expectations. Cycle that I showed early. So you really have a question, Chelsea. Is it welcome mats to become leaders? So I guess I'm not sure I understand what you mean by a welcome. So that probably relates back to maybe reference for how you want to kind of help persuade people. that you want to be a leader, but you're not necessarily the type of leader that's really going maybe or not caring to persuade people or share their thought down. So that's something that definitely takes practice. So yeah, so understanding that you don't have to look like other people that are leading, and to develop that skill of how to be able to say no. I struggle with that as well. Happen overnight, and it's not easy. So it's definitely something you practice over time. There definitely takes skill, self-management, so understanding. I would definitely talk with someone to maybe last slide is another quote that goes back to kind of everything that's underlying what we're talking about. That self-talk can humiliate or humor. All situations, it is my choice. All of that is going back to the how am I as a leader going to at this situation in a different way. So that's basically all that I have about leadership styles and being a healthy. So I don't know if anyone has any other questions. That I could present for you guys today. It was a little bit heavy at first, but hopefully feel free to email me if you do have any other questions or more specific things related to ask. I'd be happy to email you back.
Great, thanks, Rachel. Oh, we're echoing here. Again, I just wanted to mention if you need to get passport points, you need to come to Career Services and we will sign that form for you. Just make sure that you have your first and last name in the attendee list. That's where I'll be looking. So thanks, and everybody have a great day, and happy birthday to Rachel.
Thanks.